So in the latest Brexit development, James Dyson fucks off. Now, this is the man who said before the Brexit vote, before the referendum, he said leaving the EU would not negatively impact British business. He said, in fact, it would be good for British business. He said any talk of it negatively affecting British business was, and I quote, a load of cobblers. Now, he has just announced he is moving his headquarters for the company Dyson, moving them out of the UK into Singapore. Singapore, coincidentally, has just signed a trade deal with, guess who? The European Union. So the man who stood there on TV and said to us, Brexit will be fine. We'll leave the EU. It'd be great for business. It'd be fantastic. No negative effects. It's fantastic. This man is considered one of the main speakers, one of the main proponents of Brexit, of the campaign, of the campaign to leave the EU. And he's jumping ship. All the rats are jumping ship. Nigel Farage was a joke from the start. So that's not really neither here nor there. He sat on the EU Council and took an EU pension, for fuck's sake. But we always know he was a scumbag. James Dyson to stand there in front of the British taxpayer, in front of the British public on TV and say Brexit will be fine. Trust me, I'm a billionaire. Look at this massive empire that I've built. It'll be fine. It won't be bad at all. People would have trusted him. People would have voted for Brexit because of this, right? And now he's pissed off. Why? Because he knows the market will be shit for Britain after we leave the EU in March. Now, he has said that it will take a couple of months to roll it out completely and to be fully transitioned from the UK to Singapore. So there is the possibility that it will happen just before Brexit or just after. But this is why Brexit is such a good fucking subject for me to talk about. So brilliant for me to talk about. Because what is it? It's a vote to leave the EU, largely based on lies. Based on the rich people telling the poor people that it will all be fine. Business would be great. We'll do fantastically outside the EU. We'll strike out on our own, make our own trade deals. Now, what's going to happen after Brexit? After we leave the EU? There will be effects on the market, on the economy, on business, etc. Who's going to be hit the hardest? First and foremost, at a base level, who's going to be hit first, foremost and hardest? The rich, those who own the corporations, those who own the big companies that are going to lose millions because nobody is going to want to deal with us outside the EU, or they're going to be hesitant to deal with us outside the EU, and we will lose a block of trade and of market with 27 other countries. They'll be the ones to take the initial impact, right? What's going to happen then? They're going to pass that impact down onto the working classes. What's different there? Every time the rich and the corporate class suffers a loss, it's passed on to the poor anyway. The poor have been persecuted throughout British history, since long before the vote to leave the EU in 2016. Since centuries before that, since 1800s, 1700s, the poor and the working class have always been downtrodden, underfoot, made to pay the rich man's burdens. So what's going to happen is these rich corporations like Dyson, like Wetherspoons, are going to suffer because of their willingness to back this Brexit fiasco. And the reason they backed this Brexit fiasco is because they knew that a Tory government would, after Brexit, start dismantling all legal rights, or as many legal rights as possible, for working people. Rights to pensions, rights to sick, holiday pay, all that kind of thing. Rights to the minimum wage. We've already seen it with the 0-hour contracts and all that kind of thing. The Tory party does not care about workers' rights and how workers are doing in work and whether they're living a sustainable, affordable life or not. The Tory party cares about exactly the same thing that the corporate class cares about, and that is profit. Can the rich get richer? Because we all know the idea of capitalism is one person will make a lot of money and then he will invest in the economy some more, and it will spread, and basically trickle down theory. Yeah, we all know how that works. And the Tories are basically uber capitalists. They just want the rich to get richer, and the theory is that the poor will get poorer. But of course, we all know that capitalism does not work like that. So these people, these corporations, Dyson, Wetherspoons, etc., they backed Brexit because they knew that after we voted to leave, the Tory party, or after we actually leave, the Tory party will dismantle any legislation that gives the workers rights and privileges and benefits and perks, if you will. They knew that, so then they wouldn't have to shell out for things like sick pay, holiday pay, insurance, all this kind of stuff. And there'd be no EU to stand there and stop them. Now, say what you like about the EU. We all know that I think it's a neoliberal capitalist venture designed to take advantage of cheap labour. But it does have protocols and procedures in place that member states have to give a certain number of rights to workers, to working people. It has this sort of red tape, as some people call it, that says that the member states have to give rights, they have to give way, because it's a neoliberal project. So once we're out of that, Tories can do what they like with our rights. They can take it, they can rip it up, they can throw it in the air. And they knew that, and they knew that they would benefit from that. So what's going to happen after we leave the EU? The Tories are going to start doing just that. And this is where it gets very, very important. Tories are going to start doing just that. Going to start dismantling workers' rights and privileges and benefits and all that kind of thing. The corporations are going to love that, because that is exactly why they backed the EU in the first place. Why they backed leaving the EU in the first place. This is where it gets very important. This is why at the next general election you need to vote the Tories out. Don't believe any of the shit that they feed you in the media, because most of the media in this country, especially the top tier of media, Sun, Express, Telegraph, etc., are all Tory based, Tory owned, Tory backing. Don't believe any of that shit that they feed you, right? Look at what they're doing. Look at the legislation that is passing through the Tory ranks, passing through the Tory dominated parliament, or barely dominated parliament. Look at what they're doing. And when they start doing that, when people start realising that Brexit was, this version of Brexit, this version of leaving the EU, was sold to them by a rich capitalist class that want to dismantle their rights and want to make the rich richer and the poor poorer, then the tide of British public opinion will start turning against the Tories and against the corporations and against the fat cats. And that's when we'll start to see a change. That's when we'll start to see local elections and stuff. That's when we'll start to see opinion polls soaring towards what I hope will be Labour. I severely hope that that is the outcome, that the Tories start outing themselves for what they really are, which is a nasty capitalist class intent on breaking down the working classes, intent on minimalising their rights and what they get and how they afford to live at the benefit of the rich capitalist class. And the Tories, I promise you, will absolutely consign themselves to electoral oblivion if that happens. If they start pushing through all this legislation to break down rights. Look at what happened to Thatcher. The Tories will be gone, finished for at least a generation. At least, that's my estimate. One whole generation, there will be no Tory government, at the very least. So that's just my thoughts. Dyson, who promised us Brexit will be fine, he's jumped ship. All the rats are jumping ship. I'll see you next time.